What is up, denizens of the interwebs? Another day, another stupid statement coming from some idiot over in the gaming industry. Thankfully, this one isn't overly bad. It has nothing to do with Sweet Baby Inc. as far as I know anyway. It's just another load of cringe that we're getting force-fed because the industry is stupid. And this is all in relation to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, where they have been forced to put out a statement, or where they were caught putting out a statement claiming that they do not condone any of the Nazis in the game. Because why would they? Now, to be clear, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. This is coming from a Blu-ray player that I found not too long ago. When I went to Goodwill, I paid $7 for a Blu-ray player. It works excellently. And then I went to Half Price Books, and I bought a bunch of movies. And the first thing I bought, this was literally the first thing I grabbed, was the collection of the only 3 Indiana Jones movies to matter, and this neat little bonus material thing. So that's what's playing behind here. Hopefully it's flipped. If I get copyright flagged, I'm fucked. But yeah, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I love the movies. There's nothing I love more than a good old American rugged man punching the hell out of Nazis. Who doesn't love that? Well, apparently, Machine Games and the far left wokies who used to be over at Twitter might not. Coming over from bounding into the comics, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle to feature a disclaimer clarifying that developers Machine Games' decision to use Nazis as enemies should not be in any way constructed to condone, glorify, or endorse their ideology. Written by Spencer McCulley. Now, the best part about this article is that it's all basically common sense. The kind of stuff that the fact that we need someone to say it out loud makes me really fear for the future of humanity. For most people, it's understood that when a creator chooses to depict something evil in a place of fiction, especially when that something is also portrayed in-universe as explicitly bad, said creator is not endorsing a given behavior or ideology, but rather using it for narrative purposes, often to contrast the moral differences between the protagonists and their opposition. So, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Nazis are the villains. How do we know the Nazis are the villains? Because they're Nazis. I don't know why you need to specify that they're evil. They're evil because they're Nazis. And Indiana Jones is the good guy, not just because he's who we follow, but because he punches the hell out of them. What are we shown to indicate that they're evil? Well, they're kind of cruel. They have weird hangers that look like they're going to beat people with. They don't really do evil stuff in the movie. We don't need them to do evil stuff to understand they are evil because of what they believe. Now, if Indiana Jones himself was a Nazi, then maybe you'd have to find a way to justify that. But he's not. He's killing them. The point of this game is to kill them. I mean, by this logic, you are implying that Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, and hell, Kathleen Kennedy are all endorsing Nazis because this movie doesn't have a disclaimer saying that they don't endorse it. It's absolutely ludicrous and a completely brain-dead opinion. But McCulley continues, however, the same apparently does not ring true for video game industry's modern audience, as like many games before it, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle feature a very performative disclaimer assuring players that despite developer Machine Gun's decision to pit the iconic archaeologist against the historical Nazi regime, the studio themselves do not endorse it in any way, shape, or form. The funny thing about that is it kind of makes it sound like they don't endorse Ford beating up, whatever. Now, this was first unearthed by courtesy of the Video Game Chronicle, so let's go check out that article real quick. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle includes warning denouncing Nazis written by Jordan Midler, who got to play the game a little bit during a press junction where they allowed for the press to play about 3 hours of the game. And during their playtime, they found at the very beginning of the game when you first boot it up, you're met with a note that says, please note that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a fictional story, inspired by the historical events and characters. Names, characters, organizations, locations, and events are either imaginary or depicted in a fictionalized manner, not intended to respect any historical or cultural beliefs. Okay, that's a pretty normal thing that's at the front of almost every single movie and game you ever play. But the next part is really good funny. The story and contents of this game are not intended to and should not be constructed in any way to condone, glorify, or endorse the beliefs, ideologies, events, actions, persons, or behavior of the Nazi and fascist regimes, nor any regimes, or to trivialize any war crimes, genocide, or other crimes against humanity. What are you doing in this game that would lead you not to say that? Are you actively putting someone in a gas chamber? Like, I'm so confused about the thought process that went into making this kind of decision because it's so unnecessary. And it's even weirder when you look up a bit higher in this article where reportedly Nazi propaganda posters can be found all over the game And one of the mini goals of the game is to tear them down and burn them for experience points. If you are burning someone's propaganda in a game, you are objectively not endorsing that propagandist's beliefs. If you were to be endorsing it, then why would you be destroying it? It makes no sense. It would be endorsing it if you force it would look like endorsing it if you force the player to hang some up. But Last Crusade, having Hitler in the actual game and signing Dr. Jones' book, Harry Jones, does not mean that Steven Spielberg, a Jewish man, endorses Hitler. Where are these? I'm so confused. I'm just confused by the very idea that this had to have been put in there. However, because Nazi imagery was removed from German editions of the game by law, because as of 2019, restrictions on Nazi imagery in medieval and media have been relaxed. It's currently unknown if the German release of the game will feature the imagery. My guess is no, because somehow after getting rid of the fascists, they cracked down even harder on freedom of speech, because that makes sense, I guess. However, he does conclude that so far Indiana Jones and the Great Circle isn't just the Indiana Jones adventure that we have been waiting 40 years for, it's the video game that the franchise has truly deserved. Machine Games seems to be a match made in heaven for the franchise, and we left our demo extremely keen to play more. I do hope this game is good, because I do think that Indiana Jones is probably the most underused franchise of them all. There are so many places for small, more personalized stories that you could have fit into the world of Indiana Jones, and the fact that they didn't is absolutely criminal. And the fact that what we got after The Last Crusade was Crystal Skull and then the diaper of dysentery, I don't get it. And where LEGO was generous to give us a couple of good Indiana Jones games for the DSIs and Wii's, and also for Steam, even though that one's still kind of pricey, it's still nowhere near as much justice as Indiana Jones as a franchise deserves, because it's just retelling the stuff that we already got in a bit more of a humorous way, and I'm not even going to mention the Young Indiana Jones show, whatever the hell that was called, in which the only episode I remember is the one where Indiana Jones puts on blackface to get sold in a slave market in Egypt. It was a weird show. Now back over in the Bounty into the comics article, Bakuli guesses that the reason for this kind of writing in there, this disclaimer, is that it's presumably penned in order to head off the accusations of fascist support that would surely have been leveled towards them by the more reactionary and terminally online wing of the American left. It's bold of you to assume it's not still coming. And he also says that this message is particularly egregious due to it only being included because some players are unable to separate fiction from reality. As noted above, it is far from the first such content disclaimer to be included in a contemporary video game title. The idea of all these disclaimers is so baffling to me because it just shows that these people either don't have the intelligence to engage with fictional media, or they do, but they're just so bad faith that they're just looking for anything to throw a tantrum about. And I honestly don't know, A, which one is worse, and B, which is true, because both are equally likely. It is just so unbelievably cringe. But some of the other games that Peculiar points out for having these kind of things, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed warns players that the game's original sex change side quests had been included without any edits. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 collection, apologizing for the series' harmful impact. I almost bought that, but when you're going to put that kind of shit in there to devalue your own game, you don't deserve any money. Ubisoft's apologizing for how some characters and cultural references contain stereotypes. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition, the current era of video games has gone too great, but also unnecessary lengths, just to keep themselves in the good graces of socio-political watchdogs. All in all, while its inclusion is embarrassing for Machine Games and truthfully insulting to the vast majority of players who would never have assumed such a link between depicting Nazis as bad guys and endorsing their ideology wholeheartedly, it's unlikely that this disclaimer will be removed before Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hit shelves in December 9th. Although it had me wondering, because I've noticed that I can't tell you the last time I saw Nazis as a villain in something. It's almost like Hollywood and the game industry are trying to endorse them. So I actually decided, let's do due diligence. Let's check Google. Just see why we're not finding any Nazi enemies in any of these games. I can barely find anything on that actual topic, just things supporting out games to play if you really badly want to kill Nazis. Are we the baddies? How video games tackle playing as historical villains? How games whitewash Nazis? Whatever. 25 best video games that let you fight Nazis, Nazi games, Giant Bomb. But there's this one article from The Guardian, Nazis as the bad guys in video games, how is that controversial? Well, I open up that article, and what do you know? It's controversial because they think we have Nazis today. That's it. They're just saying it's controversial to do it today because of this article from 2017 written by GQ claiming that the problem with Nazis in video games is because the Nazis and Wolfenstein, the game where you professionally kill Nazis, came back at the same time. God, I hate this place. And I'm so glad that unlike Gamergate 1, which is was written during, I am so glad we're actually winning the culture war this time. When reading articles like that, it makes it absolutely no shock that people might be dumb enough to misconstrue Nazis as villains as Nazis being endorsed, because people are legitimately that moronic and that small pea-brained. I don't understand how, I don't understand why, that we have to make this kind of content. I don't understand why people would ever make that conclusion based on these characters. The entire point of Indiana Jones is he hates them. In fact, in The Last Crusade, he has a quote. Indiana Jones has a quote, "Nazis, I hate these guys."
Nazis, I hate these guys.
I don't understand why they can't seem to juggle those two ideas. It is boggling to me. But once I'm done here, I'm going to be watching The Last Crusade on my Blu-ray player, and I'll be having a lot more fun than anyone who's working on this hellhole of a game. Though I do hope to God this game is good, given who we saw was working on it, that modern audience member, I'm not too excited for the future of this game. But that's pretty much what I've got. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this, and I will see you guys on the next one.